You'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't, how often I'm asked, I like to have the house tidy and clean. I spend all my time cleaning it. How do I deal with my messy spouse? The answer is not as difficult as you might think. My name is Katie Berry. If we haven't met before, I'm a cleaning expert with 12 years of experience helping people around the world get their homes under control and keep them that way with real-world solutions that just work. My spouse was messy too. If you're dealing with a messy spouse and you didn't know they were messy before, chances are you used to be messy and now you've become a tidy person. And that means you and your spouse grew at different paces. The difficult thing to understand is that your messy spouse is not leaving messes to offend you. Messy people don't see their lovability or their worth as being influenced by whether they make a mess. And they're right. See, that's something that's very difficult for many tidy people to understand. So when somebody who is tidy works very hard to keep their home spotless, they tend to have personal pride invested in how their home looks. And when their messy spouse comes along and makes a mess, they feel like it's a personal insult or it's taking their time for granted. And the reality is the messy spouse doesn't see their clutter. It's not just clutter blind. They just know that people that living in the home make messes. The question is, who's responsible to clean it? And that's really the question underlying this. When someone asks, how do I deal with my messy spouse? What they're really saying is, who's responsible for cleaning my messy spouse's messes? And most of the time, the tidy person is feeling, it shouldn't be me. They should clean up after themselves. Because that's only fair, right? Here's the thing. If you're the tidy person, you need to own the issue. You need to own the fact that you have a different standard than your spouse who doesn't see the messes. And maybe do some inner work to decide, am I tidy? Am I focusing on tidiness because I think it makes me better or more lovable? Or is it better for my mental health to have a cleaner space? If it's the first one and you're confusing your self-esteem with whether the house is clean or not, you got some inner work to do. But if you're wanting it clean because it helps you just feel more serene, take it to your messy spouse as you would any mental health issue. Hey, I need this space to feel calmer or less cluttered or less messy so that I can feel safe and secure in my home. Your messy spouse loves you and wants you to be happy. So reframe it in your mind as a mental health issue, and that lets you bring your partner on in search of a solution for the two of you. Before you start searching for solutions, though, own the issue yourself. And that means doing the inner work of figuring out what areas trigger you most, what areas make you stressed out if they're left messy. For me, I cannot stand finding dishes in the sink and messes on the living room floor. It just drives me crazy. I know, on the other hand, that if those areas are taken care of, well, I'm a lot more forgiving about things like not squeegeeing the shower or the times that I find a wet towel on the floor. So once you have figured out the areas that stress you out the most, then you can let go of other areas. For instance, maybe the bazillion pillows that you put on the bed every single morning and then have to take off before bed every single night. Maybe cut that down to 1 or 2 pillows, if any extras at all. Maybe you can ignore the pants that are left on the floor next to the hamper instead of actually being in the hamper, or the toilet paper roll that doesn't get refilled for some reason. Once you are able to go to your partner and say, I need these areas taken care of, please pay attention here, and you in exchange are willing to let go of other areas, then you're doing the compromise that marriage requires, that any good marriage requires. Okay, before I tell you the trick that makes it so that your messy spouse actually continues to leave these areas that matter so much to you tidier, I want you to do me a favor and hit like. Thank you. So here's the thing. Once your messy spouse knows these areas because you've communicated them and they're making an effort to not make messes on those areas and you're letting go of the other spots, recognize when they're doing it right. That reinforces it, but it also says to your messy partner, I know you're making this effort for me. When we don't get recognized for the efforts that we make, you know what that's like. It hurts. And we get to the point where why are we bothering? I know we talk about how sometimes spouses expect to have a parade thrown for emptying the dishwasher when they use the dishes too. But in this case, they're actually going out of their way to take care of the areas that you told them are important to your mental health. And when your messy spouse does that, they're changing their behavior for you instead of you telling them that they must change. They are doing it for you. And when someone does something for you, you say, thank you. When you do that with your spouse, it motivates them to keep going. Now, there will be times when they are stressed out or they're not feeling well or something else is going on that they may slide back a little bit. That's only human. You have it happen too. When you get stressed out, you forget things. So talking about them, saying, oh, what's up? There's a mess on the kitchen counter. You're usually so good about cleaning that up. It reinforces in their mind, I'm a person who cleans kitchen counters, but it also opens the door for them to talk about what's really going on with them, and that helps bring you closer. That's the whole idea, is to bring you closer through finding a solution that works for both of you, that doesn't require a permanent personality change. It requires a compromise where it's one spouse doing something to help the other spouse's mental health, and the one who's being helped recognizes it and thanks the person that's helping. Because that's how we get through life. That's why we're here, to take care of ourselves, but also to take care of each other. And I will see you next week. Take care of yourself until then.